Hi, I'm Kristina Prokop, the CEO and co-founder of Eyeota. I'm very happy to be hosting the latest installment of Eyeota's audience data sessions today on a topic that has always been very important to the company and to me personally as a co-founder of the business, and that is data quality and transparency. Today I'm joined by Timur Yandall. He is the CEO and co-founder of Neutronian. Neutronian is focused on independent data quality measurement, and we've been working with them over the past months going through their certification process. So we thought it was a perfect opportunity as we close this up to invite Timur to talk to us a bit about the path to founding the company, the mission behind it, and a little bit about his experiences as a serial entrepreneur. So thanks for joining us today and enjoy.
I'm very pleased to have with me today Timur Yandall, the CEO and co-founder of Neutronian. Welcome, and really looking forward to our session today. Just a quick background, we are partners. We are currently going through the certification process with Neutronian. And today we want to spend some time talking about Timur's path to founding Neutronian, the founding principles behind it, about data quality and the importance of an independent auditor on market in this field. So welcome, and why don't you start by giving us a little background about yourself?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Kristina. This is fantastic. I think the quick background on me, other than being a dad of two great kids and living in the San Francisco Bay Area, this is my fourth startup, and my background is in engineering, and I've been passionate about entrepreneurship, I think, since university days. So my first two companies were late 90s, mid 2000s. They were web content management and video content management platforms, respectively. So doing actual publishing and starting to really get integrated into monetization strategies, I think, from the earliest days. And then my third company was a audience verification or bot detection company that we started as a result of seeing false patterns emerge in my second company, essentially seeing getting attacked by bots. And that's really what was the inspiration for the third company. So that's the main entrepreneurial background. I did, my third company was acquired by ComScore, and I was at ComScore for about 3.5 years, where I ran corporate development and digital product for some time, but have always been passionate about entrepreneurship and data quality. And so, thrilled to have launched Neutronian just about a year ago.
Great. Just a side question before we get into the nuts and bolts of Neutronian. What was one of the hardest lessons that you learned along the way between all those companies?
One of the hardest lessons? Well, the hardest was the first company was the crisis around the dot-com crash and 9/11, and really, capital efficiency was something that was not hard. So literally seeing money end up on the floor and learning that it's better to actually take less money and ensure that the model is right. I think that's probably one of the first lessons. The second lesson is that I'd say the obvious one is that it's important to choose your co-founder as carefully as you choose your spouse. So I'm fortunate that I'm good friends still with all of my co-founders, but it literally is one of those, it truly is a marriage. And so I'm proud to say that I'm friends with all of them, but there's no doubt that level. So I could see you smiling and thinking the same thing, right?
Yeah, I think you end up, especially in those early years, you probably spend more time with your co-founders than you do your spouses. And my husband always used to joke that he was husband number 3.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so totally understand that, and it's one of those things. It's through for better or for worse, and the challenges are just as challenging, sometimes if not more.
Absolutely,
with those
it's a
co-founders.
lifelong relationship, and the company truly is like a child in its overall sense. So absolutely.
Great. So before we get into some more questions, I think to frame the conversation so everyone knows about Neutronian and what the purpose behind the company is, Can you just give us a top level of the problems? Is it what the goal of Neutronian is? Why you founded it, and what problems it's solving on market?
Absolutely, yeah. So there's really two, I'd say, quick elevator pitches that we give for Neutronian. One is that we are a SaaS platform that delivers essentially a credit score for MarTech data. So we want to allow platforms such as Eyeota or others in the marketplace that if they want to say that we've got fully verified data, they can. Likewise, for data sellers that want to say we've been verified in advance, they can do that as well. So that literally like a credit ranking. The second elevator pitch is more like we are the organic data quality standard. So again, a platform could say we want to go the route of Whole Foods. They can actually say we've been certified organic by a outside body. Likewise, a marketer can purchase organic, and a data supplier, very importantly, can be rewarded for farming organically as opposed to only being evaluated on scale and treated like a fast food merchant now. So that's the background. I think we're very passionate about the issue because of the issue of not having a data quality framework in the ecosystem affects everyone. It affects marketers, agencies, platforms, data suppliers, everyone in between. And ultimately, it really impacts consumers as well, who don't necessarily have trust in our ecosystem, I think, to say the least. And that, for me, coming out of Stanford in 1995, 1996, when it was really a bunch of starry-eyed optimists about how we were going to change the world with the web. I still have a big part of me that believes in that. And it's sad to see the lack of trust that has developed in our ecosystem. And that's definitely a core part of our ethos.
Yeah, it's interesting. That segues into my next question very well, because I was doing a little bit of research before our talk today, and I saw that, dating back even to 2013, there are articles about you fighting the good fight in the industry, for different projects and companies you were working on. Is that something that it kind of came out of a certain product you were working on, or this? Because it seems like for many years now, there's been at least elements of what you've been doing that keep moving towards this, pulling out the good, the good high quality parts of the ecosystem and focusing on that.
Yeah, I think for me, there's three things that really impacted for me personally, and my co-founder Tom, who's fantastic and CTO, passionate about this as well. But for me, really boiled down to three things. One is I think ethos from my parents and just how I was raised. I maybe always relate a little bit to the underdog, and we're just very focused on I would say focused on ethics, not so much morality, but I think ethics is a key part of my upbringing. The second piece of the ethos is that my engineering background, really in mechanical and systems, really is a system engineering approach. So, system engineering, my inclination is to want to work on the system as opposed to maybe just incrementally extract from the system. And there have been some great articles about how, for example, maybe our political system in the U.S. could use some, system engineering or things like that, but very similar approach in terms of wanting to improve it overall for everyone. And then the third that really I think is the most relevant and impactful is that at my second company, we had worked our tails off for 8 years to build a great video platform, and we were helping local media properties figure out how they were going to execute on monetization strategies. And this was in 2010, 2011, when monetizing video was very nascent. And we were having success and had just started to expand our revenue network outside of local media, which tended to be very conservative, didn't really use traffic generation strategies. And in late 2011, early 2012, we were hit with a clawback notice from Google, literally out of the blue. As a smaller company, literally had no idea, and we got a several $100,000 clawback notice, and it was just lights out. I didn't sleep for 4 days.
Wow.
It was going to be, and I ended up hiring my future co-founder out of the University of Wisconsin-Madison and had to look at this data. And he's like, "Look, you've been attacked by bots. Like you've one of your partners has been using bots to drive traffic." And that just really, it was kind of the 6 stages of denial, guilt, anger, acceptance. But turned it into an opportunity. And we first built a platform to protect ourselves. And then we realized that it was a massive opportunity to launch the audience verification that way. And that's really what triggered the most recent, the 2013, writing about improving the ecosystem that way.
Yeah. And what was it about when you were looking at founding Neutronian? What was it about the data space? Because obviously, we have a lot of, although our digital space, a lot of people put that all into one bucket, there are endless numbers of, parts of the ecosystem. What was it about data that made you hone in on this as the main focus of the company?
I think the emergence of, with my third startup, M.Labs, we were acquired by ComScore in 2014, and very grateful for the experience at ComScore. Met so many good people and really learned quite a bit about the systems in place to, I think, process data in a ethical way, and not only ethical, but to pull together a true perspective on audience. But right at that time was, we were, if you remember in 2013, 2014, 2016, we were right in that massive shift of people-based marketing, from inventory-based to, the concept of buy audience anywhere. And I think that concept of taking in a user and kind of tracking around the web, it just really resonated both as an opportunity and a tremendous risk. And I've been studying it since then. And I think the risks that became apparent were, risks to publishers in terms of not necessarily being rewarded directly for their relationship with the user, but also even, I think, the emergence of other risks such as fake news in terms of, being able to vet quality data, seeing how that was tied to, bots. You could have an entire fake audience that you were trying to track. So just looking at that, it continued to intrigue me, and seeing the impacts, but also then the opportunity of showing a marketer what can happen when you engage with a quality audience. And fortunately, I think even within ComScore, seeing with some of the tools we had, seeing tremendous success with key engagements within a, like, say, a core brand safety environment, that really inspired me to show what was possible. So I think that's where it came from.
Yeah, I think from our side, we part of the reason why we found it so interesting is because the fact that this came up and why we jumped at the opportunity is because there are some things that are pretty clear. Like, I think explaining somebody to how a bot works and how that becomes fraudulent is, it's complex, but it's the concept of it can be understood. And I think data is such an area where everyone has their own interpretation of what data quality is. If you ask somebody what's high data quality, you'll have 3 different answers from 3 different people. And it is an area that people don't necessarily understand the mechanisms of how data is collected, who's doing it properly, what the different methodologies are. There's a lot of complexity in it. And so I think, from our side, when we saw you guys coming to market, I thought it was a really interesting area to move into this independent, into an independent auditing of the data space. So with that, I think now we probably should get into the nuts and bolts a little bit before we lose all our time. Can you share with everyone exactly what the process is, so what you guys are auditing for, what the process is like to go through for a data provider?
Sure. Yeah. And I think, it's wonderful that you've joined and firsthand now as your team is actively going through it. But we are a SaaS platform company, so we do have this audit process that is manual to begin with, but we really view that audit process as an onboarding to our SaaS platform, because we look at this as a 3-stage process, absolutely, to get to a true measure of data quality. The first step is to organize what a data provider is saying that they do, or also what a marketer wants, right? So there's the discovery process, or what we call the disclosure process, and that is getting those thoughts organized. There's then the audit process. So, testing to say, well, you've said what you do. Are you actually doing it? And that is a bit of a point in time measurement, as we have members on our team that walk through that and do testing, review data samples specifically, and we'll get into the 5 general categories that we break out as an audit. But after the audit, there is a third step. Obviously, as we're just getting into it with Eyeota and with our other clients, there's an ongoing monitoring capability. So with GDPR and CCPA, we don't think it's enough just to have once a year or even twice a year audits. We believe that having continuous monitoring of data samples to look at new sources, to look for statistical anomalies, et cetera, and to really help our data partners monitor their own customer deliveries to make sure there are no misses, that's a key part of the framework as well. So just wanted to spell out those 3 steps of disclose, audit, monitor. But the audit piece itself, which Eyeota is in the midst of completing now, it is both a manual and a data review. We have our head of customer success walk through the process in a kickoff call. We then have a questionnaire that we deliver through our platform, and it is a rigorous Q&A, written Q&A session that we break out into 5 categories, and within each category there's 10 to 15 what we call aspects within each one, and those are always evolving. But those 5 categories are consent and compliance is the first one, data set characteristics, so is it fully modeled, is it more first party, a mixture of, etc. Performance would be the other piece of the data that we would look at. The data processing, actual methodology, and security is a key part. And then 5th would be the transparency, the source transparency of those data pieces. So currently we are doing a certification process. I think, as you know, it's more of a binary, meet standards or not. But within those 5 categories, we actually have metrics that we have a score that we keep internally to get to essentially a pass-fail. In the future, we will move to more of a scoring capability, especially when it's talking about a specific purpose on a particular segment level, to get fairly deep in the weeds there. But that's the overall process. Is like, it typically is anywhere between a 6 to 10 week process with a team working on it, I'd say, several hours per week.
Oh yes, we can. we can speak to that. I think it was for us where it was it was a good process. It was a good process. It took, not that it took longer than we thought, but it was good. It was good going through the steps from our side as well. It got us. It helps you also get kind of like the GDPR process. It helps you. Not only does it go through the certification, but it helps you get a couple extra pieces of documentation in place and get your ducks in a row on making sure you can you have everything in place in terms of audit trails and everything else. So it's been it's been a great, it was a lot of work, but work well worth the effort.
So we don't want it to be a one-way communication. That's good. Your team has been fantastic in terms of that, but it is a chance to improve on both sides, and particularly as an early partner, I know you helped us as well. But I think we hope we bring a lot of experience in this. We've done these types of audits. Tom, my co-founder, had done SOC 2 audits. I've done data quality review, and obviously built out products. So we hope that continues to add value. And it certainly seemed like your team was very receptive to that, and we appreciate that, because we want it to be a positive process overall. Yeah, no, absolutely.
So if you look at the response from the industry so far, have you had what is the support from the industry, Ben? I know that you have a really good mix of backgrounds on your advisory board. What has the general response been from market and the support that you've seen so far?
Yeah, the response has been nothing short of overwhelming in terms of both our investors and advisors. I again, this is my 4th startup. We have closed our first round of financing and are doing quite well, even in the midst of the crisis. So I feel very fortunate in that. But our investors include a great mix of Silicon Valley and Silicon Alley, New York-based angels. So we've got top venture capitalists like Hans Tung, who invested directly. We've got Eric Franchi from Math Capital, Amr Goel, who's co-founder of Pubmatic, Orrin Hoffman, who is currently at SafeGraph, et cetera. So that's been amazing. But on the advisory board, folks who have been willing to share their perspective, both from the buy and the sell side, has also been overwhelming and humbling. So Steve Kettleman from Omnicom, Amanda Martin from Goodway Group. We just announced that Mark Ginsburg, who runs marketing for the SMB business at American Express, has joined. Serge Biscard, who ran the Ogilvy Paris offices and now is at another company in the EU, so that perspective. And then we actually just announced that Devin Sharma, who's the former president of Standard & Poor's, has invested in the company and is taking an advisory position as well. So just, amazing response. And I think it just indicates that folks have seen for a long time this needs to happen, but the time is now with GDPR and CCPA. This type of framework needs to exist for the benefit of everyone.
Yeah, no, definitely. Great. So I think, it's, I think the one last thing I want to touch on there is, obviously there's a lot of industry talk around it, but what I thought was really interesting is not only is it in the industry, but you've got, even publications like Harvard Business Review now releasing articles about the importance of data quality and things like that. So it's obviously, it's a topic that is a top of mind for a lot of different sectors, a lot of different areas of business. And I think it was mentioned in one of the articles that I was reading. What I think is so critical and about looking at data quality is because unlike measuring an impression, whether it was fraudulent or not, you have so many products that are built off the backbone of data. So you have everything from artificial intelligence to lookalike modeling to even just the simple targeting of advertising. But if you don't have that base correct and high quality, that can throw all of your other all these other products that are built off the back of it off. So I thought this article was really interesting, and I know we had spoken about it before. Were there any interesting takeaways that you took from that you found in that article?
Well, the Harvard Business Review article, was fantastic and timely. I mean, we weren't involved in it directly, but it spoke exactly to what we're all working on. So it pointed out the issues. It was a good study in terms of using some walled garden data as a baseline and then measuring with survey samples against the reality in certain data sets. And I appreciated their approach because they didn't necessarily try and demean any particular data provider, but they did point out, I think a key takeaway, they did point out that the average accuracy of demographic segments that they saw was only 42%, which is less than the chance of just flipping a coin. So they really did use that as a good chance to show what is needed here. Yeah. And we participated, shortly after that, we participated in a ANA working group, with several brands and some agencies directly in terms of trying to get a overall framework for them to look at data quality. And it was a good output there. It's not our methodology directly, but we kind of melded it with a lot of other views on the committee. And so I think that was a positive step. And the HBR paper was certainly relevant. But yeah, this is a broad issue, and I think it's safe to say it's not just within MarTech. This is issues within security, within credit rankings. So many things that we talk about AI and the positive and the negative impact that algorithms can have on people's life. I mean, when we unknowingly or knowingly introduce bias into our algorithms, and you have things like, I think the story that came out was that there was some very, very successful, very well-known women who were getting denied credit card applications because of a gender bias that came in. That just is the ridiculous, thing to happen from a data perspective. So we have so much work to do in many ways, but that is a good thing to
you picked a good area to keep yourself busy for many, many years to come.
That's right. Yeah. And that is the thing, my co-founder and I, especially, Tom, he was CTO of a brand safety engine called Proximic. He was also quite senior at Amazon AWS and managed the top 5 AWS accounts for some time. So, Tom and I jointly could have done many things and could have built a very successful consulting business in cloud computing if we wanted to, for example. But this is an area that we're very passionate about, and we know we can have a very positive impact. And that's what he and I care about doing with our lives and our careers at this point. It's obviously a great business opportunity, but more than anything, we want to look back on how we're spending our time and say we've done this with a real positive impact. And that's why we made the choice to do here, and why we've been able to invest in the company ourselves, and also bring in, I think, very, very smart, motivated investors too, and partners.
Great. Well, I can't let you go without asking the question that everyone is. So how has COVID impacted your business?
Yeah. COVID, it makes, first of all, my heart goes out to everyone I know that has been truly impacted by it from a health perspective and an economic perspective. We were very fortunate that we closed our financing in January, February, and that we are a seed stage company. So very fortunate in that we've actually seen continued interest and demand for our services that we had put out. We've continued to see inbound expressions of interest because after, I think, the initial shock of the crisis, this issue remains, and is probably even more important. As we've said, I spoke to a marketer, and they say, marketing dollars are even more precious now than they were 4 or 5 months ago. So the cost of being wrong has just doubled or tripled. So that's actually been good for us. And then we're actually fortunate that we've also had additional investors come in, so that we have, I think, clear as line of sight through 2021 in terms of what we can do. So that's how it's impacted us. But I feel fortunate, frankly, to be seed stage, because it's not, it's a little bit easier to navigate maybe when you're a bit smaller.
Yeah. I mean, it's not easier for any of us, but we also, we're all thankful we're not working in industries that are impacted as heavily as many. Right. So Timur, thank you so much for joining me today. And I want to say a true thank you for forcing the discussion around data quality. I also agree that it's something, incredibly important for the future of where our business is going and where the ecosystem has to go. So awesome initiative. Wish you all the best luck. We are supporters, and we'll bring more supporters your way. But if anyone has any questions, please feel free to reach out to us about our process, how the process went for us, or out to Timur. I'm sure you guys are all proficient enough to find us on LinkedIn or contact us directly. So thanks so much for your time, and stay healthy and safe. Take care.
Yeah, Kristina, I do want to just acknowledge you for being among the first of our partners, and to really force the dialogue as well. So that needs to be acknowledged, and we will do that. But yeah, thank you very much. And you and Eyeota are to be congratulated on that.
Thank you. Okay. Have a great rest of the day. Talk to you soon. Bye.